honor. And we initially had somebody else who's delightful as well. And DeMarcus Beckham is our, what is your title?
Community Outreach.
Community Outreach Coordinator. So that person was unavailable, and he said, but listen, I've gotten Chris Canady. And I was like, shut up! I totally goofed out. I was like, did you get Chris Canady? That's amazing. And I promise you, Chris, I'm not. That's a real thing. So I'd love to tell you a little bit about Chris Canady. He is a proud Chicago native who found his way to Macon in 2018 and never looked back. With a bachelor's degree in, as his friends say, extracurricular activities from Ball State University, Chris originally landed in Macon as a business sales executive with AT&T. But in 2020, like many, he embraced a fresh start and dove into the world of marketing. Right? Chris, did something happen in 2020 that made you want to change your whole life? Is there a worldwide situation that you were like, I don't have to live my life this way? Yeah. Chris is always on the move, traveling the world, indulging his love for food, grooving to Motown classics, and whipping up delicious meals in the kitchen. His faith is central to his life, and he is passionate about sharing it with others. As a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, Inc., sorry about that logo situation, Chris serves as president of the Macon Alumni Chapter, leading with dedication and purpose. Wherever he goes, Chris brings energy, enthusiasm, and a deep love for community. Please welcome Chris Canady to the stage.
March 2020. I grew up as a city boy from Chicago, the Windy City. And yes, thank you. My dad and my brother, as looking back, were my first two romances, if you want to call it that. I grew up in a household full of love and full of you can be whatever you want to be, and my dad constantly telling me, Chris, never say you can't. And so my first experiences with building a brotherhood bond, I'm happy to say, were with those in my own household. But over time, eventually, I had to leave that household, and I chose to go away to college in 2013. And I remember packing up the car and my dad driving me down with my mom and my brother in the back seat. And they dropped me off at Ball State University and said their goodbyes. And when they left, I didn't have this sense of, I've got to find another brother, I've got to find some other guys to be around me. I felt okay. But over time, I realized there was some value in building other bonds with other men. And so, at the fall of 2015, actually, this idea of joining a fraternity was presented. And I remember telling the guys, I don't need a fraternity. I'm good. As I said, I came to school for all the extracurriculars. I've got all these organizations that I'm in. Why do I need to join a fraternity? But I began to watch other men, other black men, succeed, accomplish things, do it together, and they weren't at each other's necks. They weren't cliques. They weren't tearing each other down. They were lifting each other up. And it took them convincing me, like, hey, we can offer you more than just having fun. And so I became a proud brother of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. 06 with my brother in the house. And after joining the fraternity, I can honestly say there was a lot of things that happened that were good. I mean, really good. But the time came to an end and I graduated. and I got sent to Macon, Georgia. I remember being pulled into a room and my AT&T boss was like, all right, well, you gave us your 3 choices, but you're going to Macon, Georgia. And I said, where's that? Never heard of it. I had family in Atlanta, my grandfather was from West Point, Georgia, but Macon was not music to my ears at that moment. But I came in 2018, and I remember moving in and life changed. And about a month later, I had that feeling, where are my brothers? Where are my brothers? And it wasn't like I couldn't find them, I just hadn't made that active desire to find them. So I changed my tune, I reached out to the local chapter, and I was embraced with open arms. And in that first meeting with many brothers, I met a guy named Darius Maynard. I remember Darius took me to this place called Anderson Diner here in Macon. I walked in, it was after church one Sunday, and I was just so happy to meet some guys who love the Lord and who I could share my faith with. And soon I found out this Darius guy knew and had good taste in music. I remember talking to Darius, and I'm like, you know the third song of Whitney Houston's I'm Your Baby Tonight album? How do you know that? I know that. But, as fate would have it, we became close bros, as some might say. And time and life went on, and I enjoyed my time in Macon, and tragedy came. Like, it may come in all of our lives at some point in time. It was December of 2019 when my boss pissed me off. I was done. I remember him trying to serve me, put me on a plan because I wasn't achieving the high goals that I had before when I first hit the sales team. I remember thinking, like, how is this possible? He sent me an email saying, you're going on this plan in 30 days, and I opened the document, my name was misspelled, incorrect pronouns. I was like, what's happening to me right now? So I don't remember the conversation, I'm sure I called Darius up and I ranted and I raved. But in that time, Darius' response to me was sending me another job application. And so he sent me this job to some place in Macon called M&R Marketing. Thank you. And I didn't apply because I didn't have the courage to actually walk out of some mess that I was dealing with. So I stayed. I stayed for another month. And it got worse, and it got worse, and it got worse. So finally I said, whatever. But then I remembered that job application. And I went back, and it was still open. So what did that mean? You probably ought to apply. So I applied. And within a day or two, I got an interview. And then 2 weeks later, I got a second interview. And then 2 weeks later, I got a third interview. And then next, Chris, welcome to the team. And I remember just couldn't believe it. It was change. It was a change that I was praying for. It was a change that I was looking for. It was everything that I had asked for. I got it. So I celebrated. I made my plans to leave AT&T, and I was going to take the whole next month of March and just celebrate. But then, March 2020. What do we all remember happening in March 2020? Something that starts with the C word. I'm not going to say it.
Chaos.
Thank you. Chaos. And I was going about my day to day, I was like, okay, there's some changes going on. I hadn't heard anything from the boss. Future boss, shall I say. So then one day I got a text saying, hey, Chris, can you hop on the phone later today? And I immediately, okay, what is he going to tell me? All right, am I going to start virtual? My date going to get pushed back? What's going to happen? So I remember calling my mom, like, Mom, can you pray with me? Because I don't know what he's going to tell me. And I sat in my car, I'll never forget, I was in the post office parking lot and I cried. And that's your mom, you can cry to your mom. But I did. So, thank you. So I took the call, he said, brother, we're not going to be able to bring you on because we have no idea what's going to happen. And I hate to tell you this, but I'll do everything I can to help you find another role, but we have to think about our business and longevity, and so, that start date, we're gonna have to delay it. And I froze. But what do we do when we have a situation that we don't know what to do about? Some of us, we try to fix it right away. So I hopped on the phone, I called my manager with AT&T back, and I explained what's going on. He said, Chris, I'm sorry. AT&T had already processed my resignation. And so I was left with no new job, no month-long celebration and happy hours in Atlanta to say bye-bye. I was stuck at home like everybody else. And that went on for 6 months. But in that 6 months, I can honestly tell you it was the best time of my life. I had more brothers surrounding me. And I'll never forget a conversation I had with another brother. And his name is Braxton Jefferson. And I remember him telling me, he said, Chris, and he listened to all my rants, and he listened to me just break down, and I just will never forget him saying to me, I think God might be trying to tell you to be still. And I'm like, what do you mean?
That's right.
Be still? I had already had conversations with God. I'm like, what are you doing? What's going on? Why is this happening to me? This was all supposed to be perfect. And you were telling me to be still? But something deep down inside of me is like, Chris, he's probably right. Why don't you just shut up and listen? So I did. 6 months go by, I get a phone call. But before that phone call came, I realized I had black men surrounding me, uplifting me. And that's not common, unfortunately. I actually had a fraternity rally around me and support my goals and dreams and speak life and not down my situation. Not everybody did that, but the most of them did. And so 6 months go by, I've lived my life, and yeah, I'm still praying, I'm still asking for things to change, and if you don't give up, change might actually come. And so August rolled around, I get a phone call, I'm on vacation with my family in Hilton Head. We decided to escape all the sea stuff that was going on. And I'm like, why? It was my future boss, but hopefully, at that time, I didn't know. And he said, hey, can you come out the office? I'm like, I just talked to you 2 weeks ago, and you told me there was no job available at the moment. What do you want to talk about? So I took the phone call, and long story short, he said, hey, one of the people on our team just resigned. She said she has a better offer, and she can't refuse it. When can you start? What did you just say? He said, yeah, the offer is still the same. Nothing's changed. Let us know when you can start. I'm like, God, are you kidding me? So I hung up the phone. I ran outside, and my family was like, I got a job! Which every parent, I'm sure, hopes. My dad was the most happy of it. And in all of that, the two guys I run back to tell what's going on, Darius and Braxton, and they uplifted me. They were happy. They were more happy for me than I was for myself. And that's rare. But it was real, and it was authentic. And it was a bromance that I didn't even know was developing. It was a bond that was developing that I never asked for. I never sought after. I thought I didn't need that in college. But the things you don't think you need, you probably need. And so in looking back over all that happened that year, here we are 5 years later, and everything that I wanted fell into place. But how did I handle that situation? I relied on positivity, and I relied on relationships in my life.
I know that's right.
I know that's right.
So I'll leave this with you today. Choose your friends wisely. You may have heard that cliche, but it actually is true. You may not be able to pick your siblings, but you can pick new brothers and sisters. You don't get to choose the family that comes into your life. And I love my family. They support me along the way. But at that time, I couldn't go to my dad because he was dealing with his own things. I didn't have another person that I could turn to in that moment. So if you're going through something, I hope and pray that you have somebody in your life that you can turn to. Because it really matters. And your relationships is what can carry you through.
I know that's right.
Thank you.